The fluorescent lights of the shelter buzzed, casting an unnerving glare on the rows of kennels. Max, a once vibrant golden retriever, now lay curled in a corner, his tail tucked between his legs. 8 years ago, he'd been a playful puppy, a whirlwind of wagging tails and puppy kisses. Today, his eyes held the dull ache of betrayal, the weight of abandonment pressing heavily on his spirit. It was his family, the only family he'd ever known, who'd brought him back. Unforeseen circumstances, they'd said, their voices heavy with a sorrow that mirrored his own. He'd recognized their scent as they led him through the familiar doors of the shelter, the place he'd once left, filled with hope and a wagging tail. The staff at the shelter were devastated. They'd seen Max grow from a playful pup to a loyal companion. His story resonated with countless hearts, the viral video of his forlorn face breaking the internet. The caption, "The only family you've ever known is returning you to the shelter after taking you in as a puppy 8 years ago," echoed the collective heartbreak of the shelter team. Days turned into weeks, Max's spirit slowly fading. He refused food, his once bright eyes now filled with a melancholic sorrow. The shelter staff tried everything, showering him with love and attention, but his heart remained closed. He'd lost his family, how could he trust anyone again? Then, one evening, a man, his face etched with familiar lines, walked into the shelter. His eyes, red-rimmed with unshed tears, locked onto Max's, the weight of years bearing down on his shoulders. He knelt beside the kennel, his voice a gentle murmur that stirred something deep within Max's weary soul. The shelter staff watched with a mixture of disbelief and awe as the man whispered softly to Max, his voice filled with a love that transcended words. The man, who the shelter staff later discovered was Max's original owner, had been struggling with his own unforeseen circumstances, but he'd never forgotten the dog he'd entrusted to his family all those years ago. He'd been following Max's story, heartbroken at the sight of his once playful companion now so lost and alone. The shelter, respecting the man's request for privacy, shared only a vague update. Max has found a new forever home. The truth, however, was far more heartwarming. Max had found his way back to the man who had given him his first, albeit fleeting, taste of love. The man, his face now filled with a gentle smile, took Max home, promising a life filled with walks in the park, sunny afternoons, and unconditional love.